collection, and I said, I wish it was. I have 5 cabinets at home. I have probably, I think about 400 pieces, I think I have. I have a lot of different things that I collect. And I'm gonna tell you some funny stories, and the one common thread that they all have is that every one of them, I look like a fool in them, but I'm gonna share with you, because you're all collectors also in that. I come from a family of people who collect nothing. My parents, my brother, everybody, nobody collects anything at all. As Ann Blackmore always says, you know, not everybody was born with the collecting gene. So we're all kind of rare individuals because we have that gene. In 1981, I just graduated from college, and a friend of mine, Nancy, was cleaning out her parents' home and gave me about 30, 40 pieces of Fiesta, and she said, I have 3 sons, none of them are gonna want it. You're the only person I know who would want them. Please don't sell them, they're part of my family. So I had them sitting at home for a couple months. I went to the antique show at State Fair Park, and somebody had a huge display of this. And I looked at it and I thought, I want that. And when I first started collecting it, it was just, the prices were just starting to go up. Had I started 2 years earlier, I would have had a lot more rare pieces on that. But one of the things that I always find fascinating about collecting is the stories behind it, how things came about. So I'm going to share with you just a few things that I have here, some information that I acquired in that over the years. Fiesta was made by the Homer Laughlin China Company in West Virginia in 1871 was the year that they were founded. They were in Ohio. They moved to Newell, West Virginia, right over the border in 1927. And also in 1927, they hired the art director from Roseville Pottery Company. His name was Frederick Reed. And Frederick Reed was from a long line of potters and designers. And he was the one who designed Fiesta. He started the research in 1934, 1935. He wanted to bring out a bright colored pottery. Now, up until that time, most of the dinnerware that you had at home for everyday stuff was pretty much white with a decal on it, maybe a painted border. That's pretty much what they had. The Bauer Company out of California started doing a pattern called Ring, and it's somewhat similar but very different also at the same time. It almost looks like it was made on a potter's wheel. It's much more clunkier than that. He wanted something that was kind of modern and also something that people could use for any occasion. Some of the brochures and things that I have from them say you could use this for breakfast, lunch, dinner, you could use this for a buffet, you could use this for a nice dinner. My friend Nancy that started me said this was her family's Sunday china. When all the aunts and uncles would come over, they always ate off of this. So, Frederick Reed decided to start doing some research. And he found out most of the pieces that people were buying. Up until the time that Fiesta came out, most dinnerware was sold in boxes. You bought a 4-piece place setting, like this, 8 or 12. And then usually what they had is they had like the completer set, the sugar, the creamer, the platter, the bowl, things like that. Fiesta was one of the first to do marketing research and also to buy, you could go in and buy a few pieces at a time. Right here in this box, there's just 2 cups. So you could go in there, you didn't have to buy a whole thing. Maybe you broke some cups, you didn't want to buy another whole set, so you could buy that. This is also 2 salad plates right there in one color. So you could buy it open stock, you could also buy it in boxes like that. Frederick Reed in his journal and in an interview said he wanted the design and the color to be the decoration, not again flowers or something else. They did a lot of tweaking of the molds and things, and they decided on all the flat pieces and the bowls and things to put a set of rings on the inside so that there would be a little bit more decoration and it wouldn't be so severe to your eye as seeing something that was all the same color. So most of the Fiesta pieces have rings around the outside and also in the inside. It's kind of hard to see on most of these, but this is, again, there's a set of 7 rings on the outside and then again on the inside of them. In 1934, there was a trend in the United States towards color. Of course, what's going on, we're in the middle of the Depression. So, not to sound sexist, but the majority of women were home all day long. And, which I think was probably a lot harder than going out and having a job. But, so they kind of marketed this for women so that you would have some color in your life, you know? So that was it. It seems funny during the Depression with the unemployment rate so high that people would go out and buy some more new dishes. But that's what happens. So the trend in the early 30s was towards color, and automobiles, appliances, furnishings, ladies' apparel, everything was starting to go from blacks and browns and grays, hues of those, into brighter colors. Frederick Reed did some research and found out that at that time, the #1 color was an orange-red. And Ann and I she was just showing me a picture of something, a vase from the 30s, you were saying, that is the same color as this. So this was the piece that they used as the cornerstone of the Fiesta line, this color right here. And so I found an article, Frederick Reed died during World War II, so he died quite not long after Fiesta was out. I think 8 or 10 years after it had come out. So they had an interview which I thought was kind of interesting, and he said they started off with that color which we call Fiesta red. It's actually an orange red. They tried all different colors, and the second color that they came up with for this was the cobalt blue. The third color that they ended up trying out was, put the sign here once, the green. And they tried all different shades of green. They decided on more of a dull green. You have a bright red and a bright blue. They needed something kind of duller. So they came out with the light green, and then again, they tried different shades of yellow. They decided on a bright yellow. They tried pastel yellows, other ones bright yellow. The other 2 colors that they keyed into in 1936 was ivory, and this one, he said they had a hard time convincing the company to do because it's just plain. And he said that with those bright colors, you need something kind of a little bit more of a duller, quieter influence. Everyone can't be loud. You've got to have something a little bit quieter. And the 6th and final color that they came up with was turquoise. Now, people that I know and people I collect, some people collect 1 or 2 colors. Some people collect all 11 colors. I myself collect the first 6 colors that they made. I happen to like the color combinations in there of those 6 colors. So in January of 1936, Fiesta premiered at the Pittsburgh show for the trade, and they started with the first 4 colors. 6 months down the road, they added ivory, and about approximately a year later, they added turquoise. Over the years, they added colors and discontinued colors, and a lot of what's rare not only is the piece itself, but the color that it is. One of the first things that was discontinued was this here. This is a covered onion soup. So it's 1936, there's a depression on, there's record unemployment. Covered onion soup didn't sell real well. So you could find this in the first 4 colors. They're expensive. You could find it in ivory. To find it in turquoise, you have to have a pretty big pocketbook. The turquoise one, I want to say goes and I haven't bought one, but it's probably about $4,000 or $5,000 it can be for that. As opposed to this one, I have 4 of these. I have the dark blue one, the yellow one, the green, and the ivory one in these. And again, I didn't pay anywhere near that much money. Somebody one time went to a school that was closing, and they had 12 of these in turquoise, and they said that they were sugar bowls. This is the sugar bowl. This is the covered onion soup. So somebody got an incredibly good deal on those. The other thing that was retired right away were these. There are a set of 7 bowls. This is the smallest of the 7 bowls. For doing pretty much anything. For whipping up an omelet, for making potato salad in large groups, things like that. Each one has a number on the bottom. This is number 1, up through number 7. So the bigger the number, the bigger the bowl is. They made these for, I think, about 10 years. They're harder to find in really good condition. You can find lots of them chipped up, cracked, and everything else because people use them. People didn't buy this stuff as an art object to sit on a shelf. They bought it to use it. So what they did was they decided to come out with lids for them. They marketed the 4 smallest sizes. The 3 bigger ones, they made test runs of, but they never released them. The number 5 and the number 6, a couple people do have them. The number 7, nobody has seen. Somebody offered $10,000 if they could ever get a lid. And again, a lot of these did not survive. When you look at them, it's really hard to hold on to. So you think you're in the kitchen, you're cooking, you've got butter or Crisco or something on your hands. You're trying to pick things up. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I have about 8 or 10 of these in the different sizes, the different colors. I came across somebody who had a couple who didn't know what they were, so I got them very cheap. In great condition, you're probably talking anywhere, depending upon the color and the size, $750 to $1,000 for one of those. So those were 2 of the first pieces of Fiesta that were discontinued. And again, 1936, 1937. That's kind of harder to get because not as many were made. This is an interesting piece. This is the drip cut, the glass one that everybody has seen. They made this, and Homer Laughlin bought the mold, and they made it, and then they just ordered the tops. Now, 2 things. First of all, they sold a bunch of these with tea inside, loose tea, with just a covering on it. So there's a lot more bases than there are covers. The other thing is you can also find these in bright red or just chrome, and people will take them off and put them on here. The correct ones are the ones that match this. For some reason, the blue ones, a lot of these turn purple. I think it was from the sun, the plastic in that. But this was a piece that I bought at my first glass show that I came to when I wasn't a member, when it was at the Red Carpet Bowling Alley on South 27th Street. A glass show at a bowling alley. I always thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, and I really, really wanted this. I hadn't seen one, and it was $100, and I got it for $75, and I thought it was just great, and that. So I use this. I put syrup in there on Sundays when I use my Fiesta. I think the saddest thing to do is to collect the stuff and never use it. There are pieces that I don't use. But most of it I do use. Another thing is the bowls. They had made lots of different size bowls. This is the 4 3/4 and the 5 1/2 fruit dish, and they're also called nappies. Now I was corresponding with somebody in England, and corresponding with somebody from England is not funny. But Anne's way ahead of me because I asked if they had any nappies. And of course, Anne, in Britain, what's a nappy? It's a diaper, yes. And he said, do you want it full or empty? And I'm like, what are you talking about, you know? But anyway, so, yeah, that was it. So they made this in 2 different sizes. They also made this in bigger size bowls, bigger serving bowls. Teapots, they made one size coffee pot and a demi-tasse pot. The demi-tasse pot has a stick-handled creamer for after-dinner coffee. This is the creamer for it. Did I bring the other creamer? Okay. The other creamer just has a ring handle like this here on it. Oh, that's it. Yeah, throw this over here. They made 2 different creamers. Sugar bowl, again, they made it in all the different colors. There's a 6-cup teapot. You'll notice the finial and the handle are different. And the 8-cup teapots, a different finial and a different handle. They call this the ring handle because it's totally round, as opposed to what they call the C handle. And then the 2 different finials. So a presentation from Glen would not be complete without dumb, stupid stories. My first one I'm going to tell you about 10, 12 years ago, it was about 2 days after 4th of July, Patrick Cudahy was on fire. Somebody shot off a military rocket, landed on top of the roof, and because the building was like 80 or 100 years old, it was all wood, everything burned. Patrick Cudahy is about 3.5 blocks from my house, and the wind was blowing straight down my street. I was doing the dishes, I was home, and all of a sudden I hear pounding at the front door, my dog starts barking, and I hear it's the police. I thought, oh my gosh. So I started walking, and as I'm walking towards the front door, I look out my picture window, and it's a bright sunny day, it is literally black, and I don't mean like dark at night, I mean literally black, like someone painted the window. And I started to panic, and I thought, okay. And I went to the door, and the officer said, we're evacuating. Patrick Cudahy's on fire, and it's out of control. We don't know if it'll reach here. You've got 5 minutes to grab whatever you need and leave. My brother always says, if you are gonna plan a party for 1,000 people, call Glen, because he'll do it all for you. If you have a crisis, call Glen when it's over. So I suddenly went into panic mode, and I thought, okay, what do I do? I had my suitcase there because I was gonna be going on a trip in another week or so. I grabbed the suitcase, ran the bathroom through toiletries, ran the bedroom through some clothing in there and socks and that, my toothbrush, blah, blah, blah. Grabbed my dog's dog dish and food dish, threw it in there, grabbed some food and some bottled water, threw it in there. And then I thought, I may lose everything. It was the funniest, strangest feeling, and I thought, what do I do? What do I take, you know? So I have the suitcase and I have the dog under me, and I thought, my grandmother's silver. My grandmother had a set of sterling silver she left me, it was her pride and joy. So I go and I grab that out of the buffet. So I've got the suitcase, I've got that, and I've got the dog, and I went, my Fiesta. So I ran downstairs, I grabbed this, because this is my favorite piece of Fiesta. And I'm running out the door, not even wrapped, just holding this, and my next door neighbor is coming out, she goes, Glen, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going, and she goes, I'm not taking anything. And I said, that's because you don't have as good a stuff as I do. Again, as Anne would say, not everybody has the collecting gene in it. So anyway, so that was it. So I got in my car and I drove away, and all of a sudden I thought, okay, where am I going? So anyway, the next day we got to come back, and everything was fine. My house was still standing and that, but you know, if you had to run out the door, what would each of you take? You know, it's kind of like, what would you take? A photo album, something, you know, that was it. I had the silver and the teapot, I was ready to go. So, yeah, this is one of the first pieces that I bought that I paid a lot of money for. I bought this from Benny Brockle, who was a big Fiesta dealer. I paid $55 for this, I think, in 1981. And Every party I had, when Kathy Kane used to come over, we always had tea out of it and that. My grandmother, my parents and that, so it's kind of a special piece for me. Some of the pieces have gone way up in value and come down, and some have just not changed much. The vases, they made 3 different size vases in the Fiesta line, and these were only made in the first 6 colors. This is a 10-inch one, there's an 8-inch one and a 12-inch one. They're all the same except for the size. These used to go for over $1,000 a piece. I think they're probably around $800 now or so. And this is the bud vase right over there. During the war from 1939 to 1943, I think is what it was. 39 to 43, they did a promotional campaign to try to get people to buy Fiesta. So what they did was they offered a bunch of things to the stores to resell it to consumers for $1. So they made like 6 or 7 things. This is one of the things. Is this the one? No, that's not. Never mind. That's not one. This is one of the things that they made. This was only made in yellow. The 6 different items that they made, or the 6 different sets, were done in one color pretty much to make it easier. Again, end of the Depression, beginning of the war, there's less manpower. So instead of doing 6 different colors, they just made one color. They didn't keep really good records, so we don't know why, but there are some that were made in cobalt blue and I think a green also. I bought one of these with a chip out of it, and I think I paid a couple $100 for it because I thought I'm never going to get one. One of my friends always said, if it's something that's rare, even if it's not perfect, buy it. You can always get another one. And a while ago, when I owned a business in Waukesha, the Waukesha newspaper did a story on me. And they asked what I collected, and I said I collected Fiesta. And a lady came by, and she said, I've got a bunch of Fiesta. She was like in her 90s, she was breaking up housekeeping. Are you interested? I looked at it, and I bought everything. And about a month or 2 later, she came back, and she said to me, I'm gonna be going, and my son was standing on top of the chair above the refrigerator, and I found this bowl, and when she pulled this out, I was like, oh my God. And I'm like thinking, oh my God, okay, what do you want, like $5,000 for it, whatever? And so I said, oh, and she said, you were such a nice young man, I want you to have this. So I was like all the way home just shaking with I did. You know, if it would have been a kid, the kid wouldn't have been strapped into the car seat. But no, that was, I was driving like crazy to make sure that nothing happened to that one.
Glen, was that one over?
Just about, yeah. One of the things I was talking about this with Ann during the break. One of the things I found in collecting is be nice to everybody. When I buy something on eBay, I always send a little note. It arrived. It was great. Besides giving them a good review, I always send them a little note. And you'd be surprised how many times things come back to me. And they'll say, you know what? I found this. I'm not even going to list it. If you want it, you can have it. Or you want it, it's $10. And that. So I found some things just by being nice. Sometimes in our world, we're also hectic. We're also trying to get somewhere so fast. We don't stop and realize that everybody else is a human being like we are. So anyway. That's what my Sunday morning church service steak right there. So that's it. In 1950, they decided to start changing some of the colors, and they came out with 4 colors in 1950. And these were from 1950 to 1959. So it's rose, there's a chartreuse, a dark green, and a gray. Now, Fiesta collectors are really, really top-notch, intelligent people. We refer to these as the 50s colors because they were made from 1950 to 1959. Okay. I thought that was a funny one. Never mind. Never mind. Thank you. So anyway, and then in 1959, they discontinued those colors, and they came out with the 11th and final color, and this is called medium green. Medium green is hard to find in certain things, depending upon, again, when they were made. Now, things like the Nestle bowls, the lids, this stuff, the vases, none of that was made in medium green. So there's less pieces that were made of medium green. In 1969, they decided to restyle and redo change Fiesta, and then in January of 1972, they retired it. And that was pretty much the end of it. Until 1986, when they decided to reintroduce Fiesta for the 50th anniversary. And I said to Eddie, I said, sometime I'll bring in some of the new stuff and show you the differences between the new things and the old things. So with that, there's a lot of interesting things that were tie-ins. You know, Fiesta wasn't the first color dinnerware, it wasn't the last, but it was the most popular one. As a matter of fact, Fiesta is the top-selling American-made dinnerware of all time. I'm not positive, but I think number 2 is Autumn Leaf by Hall. I think that's number 2. So everybody was doing different things and wanted to get on the bandwagon. One of the glass companies did these 3 different sizes with a Mexican motif in the first 4 colors: the yellow, the light green, the cobalt blue, and the red. And that. And some of that was shipped with Fiesta when they did like a box set. One of the things that I got, there was a company, and again, we don't know who it was, who made these. And this is the only one that I've seen. This is actually from Bob and Sharon Huxford wrote a series of books on Fiesta. They were the first ones, or one of the first ones, I should say. And this is actually in their book, this particular piece. The bowl is the next size up from this, but they sold this as an ice bucket. So again, something you can do. They also made these, just the top part, that would clip onto plates. So you could use them like for a little for cookies or something. Another one that was made right over here in Milwaukee, this is called Fiesta Wood. And again, it has the bands of the first 4 colors that they made. This is a small serving platter. They made 2 or 3 different sizes. They made one that I think has a fish, has holes. You can put like hors d'oeuvre picks in there. The one that I actually have 2 of them, is a great big wooden platter. It's about a little over 2 feet, I think, roughly, with a great big wooden salad bowl. And for serving salad at your party. But this one doesn't have a sticker on the back, but most of them have it. It says Fiesta Wood. And I had to go look one day. I looked it up in an old phone directory from the 40s. It was just north of downtown, and the building is still there. I didn't get out of my car to go look, but the building is still there. They also made I think this was the American Dairy Council made these, and these were sent to schools to tell you about quality control portions when you were serving dinner or breakfast. For instance, the average person, you're supposed to give them 3 slices of bacon for breakfast.
Who wants to be average?
Right. And then for your parties, 1 cupcake, medium size, and 3/4 of a cup of baked beans. So Ann, the next time you invite me over, you can keep the 1.5 cups of baked beans for yourself. I want both the cupcakes, okay?
Now you're full enough of gas.
Oh, well, this is another thing here. These are decals, and back years ago they used to do the decals. They would put them on the cabinets and different things in the house. You put them in water and then they come off, and you can put them on things and that. But these are the Fiesta dishes right there. So, fun one. There was also a company that made all different metal things. The 4th size I have at home, the 7 canisters. There's a 3-tier vegetable bin that I have. There is 2 different size bread boxes. There's 2 different size garbage cans, a kitchen stool, and a dustpan. So this is probably 30-some years ago or so. I found out that there was a lady that had this, and I really, really wanted this. This is the only one I'd ever seen. So she told me she was going to have a phone bid on a certain day. So I called her up, and we were going back and forth, and all I kept thinking about was, if I don't use my car for 6 months, if I don't eat, if I don't do anything at all, I can afford to buy it. So we were going back and forth, and we finally got to an incredible amount of money. And I said, I think I'm done, and the other guy said, I think I'm done too. And I said, okay, you said you're in Illinois, right? And she said, yes. And I said, I'm in Milwaukee. She says, well, I'm right over the border. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you that money and I'll come pick it up. You don't have to ship it. She said, okay, fine. So I sent her the check and she called me back and she said, okay, the check cleared, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. I said, I'm off on this particular day. I'm gonna drive down. Now, I'm a very honest person. It's not too far away from Milwaukee, okay, fine. So I get in my car, it's before GPS and everything else, and I go and I'm driving, and of course it's a snowstorm. And I'm driving, and it's now about 8 o'clock at night, and I pulled over at a payphone. You remember payphones. And I said, I'm so-and-so, and she goes, oh, you have another 4 hours to go. When she said she was she was in Illinois, right over the border, she meant down by St. Louis. She lived in a farmhouse. So here I am in my little car driving down there. I got there about 1 o'clock in the morning. She had the thing sitting on her porch. It was all wrapped up in a blanket. I'm thinking, I'm gonna get shot. I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's not even any lights here. So I grabbed it and I brought it back, and that was my story about whenever you're gonna meet somebody, make sure you know where you're going, okay? One of those fun little things. The other thing I want to tell you about is there's a bigger bowl than this in cobalt blue that I bought. It's called the Footed Salad Bowl. It's about $250, $300. And I was down at Kane County, just west of Chicago, and a lady, it was a muddy day, and a lady had all this Fiesta, and on the ground was, in the mud, was a couple pieces. And I saw this thing, and I said, how much is this? And she said, $150. I'm like, I really, really want it. Can you do it? And we went back and forth. So I ended up paying $100 for this bowl. Paid it, and she said, sometimes it's nice just to leave it and then just enjoy it. I thought, what a dumb thing to say. So I went home, and what I always do when I buy dinnerware, fill up the sink with hot water, 2 tablespoons of bleach, and a lot of soap. Now I put the bowl in there. And about an hour later, I come by and all the bubbles are now gone. And I looked, and there is a film across the top of the water of cobalt blue.
Oh, no.
And I thought, okay, and I pulled it out. There was a major piece missing. She had filled it in with like an epoxy or something, sanded it, and spray painted it.
Nice.
So I went back the next 4 months, and of course she wasn't there. So I thought, what do I do with this? Do I donate it to Goodwill? Do I throw it away? Do I smash it? What do I do? And I thought, you know what? I think most collectors, maybe not that much, but you buy something that you think is real and it's not, or it's mint condition, it's got a crack out of it. And I just found out from Ann that there's a name for this.
Tuition glass.
It's called tuition glass. You learn. You'll learn. School of Hard Knocks. All right. Oh, and then I have a friend who's a graphic designer, George, and he made this one. I've had people come over and go, where'd you get that? I said, George made it for me. It's one of a kind. You can't have it. And also my mirror that he made me. I also have a chandelier, like for a bedroom, one of those square glass ones, with the Fiesta Dancing Girl, their logo, all around it in all the different colors. Okay. Questions? Yes, sir.
Is there any particular marking or label I was going to ask these?
Yeah, there's different ones. Now, they did not mark some of the things that were like the cups and that, the bases, because they were too small. There's different ones that they did. This was in the mold. It says Fiesta HLC USA, and there's a couple of variations on that. But most of the pieces, and again, like the lids and that, they're not on that because of that. There's not enough room in that. The other thing is, they also did it with an ink stamp, and that's the one right there too. So those are the ones that were the most common.
Glenn,
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
tell us what years they produced the round handle versus the C handle?
I cannot remember right offhand. This was the first teapot that was made. It was 8 cup, and they went to 6. They went to 6 cup. But up until 1969, like the cups were all ring handled. After 1969, they made that C handle. I don't know why, if it was just because of the styling of it, like the finials. Again, there was two different finials. There's a mustard and a marmalade. The marmalade has this kind of handle, like a mushroom handle. The mustard has one like this. And these things, again, are hard to hold on to because they're just straight. These, at least, you have a little bit to grab onto. And all the holes were hand drilled. I've seen some that didn't have a hole, or that they were way kind of out of, like in a different area, but somebody must have sat there with a drill or something, or tool of some kind, to drill those by hand.
And can you tell, like 1930s from 50s from 60s Fiesta Ware, is there any difference in weight?
No, because you know what, it was all hand done, and stuff like that. Some of the pieces you can find are thicker, some are a little bit thinner. The glazes, sometimes you see the glazes, that are just a little bit thicker, and some are a little bit thinner. I have a big platter, it's a 13 or 15 inch one, in rose. And I didn't want it, but I had to buy it because it was so great. On the back, somebody must have picked it up. They have 3 finger marks, and they picked it up when it was wet. So when it was glazed, you see 3 finger marks that the glaze didn't cover it, which I thought was just kind of a fun thing. Anybody else? Yeah.
This isn't a question, this is just informational for people. If there are people who like Fiesta, I was telling Glen, if you're ever up on the North Shore of Minnesota, heading up toward Thunder Bay, Canada, an hour north of Duluth is a tiny little town called Beaver Bay. There is a woman who owns an antique store, and she has a ton of tables outside. She keeps it outside, I don't know if she keeps it out in the winter, but it's still there in October, and she has a ton of Fiesta. Much of it is the new Fiesta. No bargains to be had, but if you're looking for new Fiesta and you happen to be up in the North Shore of Minnesota. The other thing is just kind of a fun information piece. You talked about the collecting gene. Some of you may be familiar with an assessment called StrengthsFinder. And what StrengthsFinder is about, what are your strengths? So there's something like communication, something called winning others over, analytical. You take this assessment, well, one of the strengths is called input. I have input, and I suspect many of the people in this room have it, because the first thing that it says under input is, most likely you are someone who collects things, whether it's physical things or ideas. The other strength that I don't have, but I think relates to this group, is context, and that's the historical gene. You enjoy the historical part of it as well as the collecting piece. So if you ever take StrengthsFinder, I know how to interpret it, I'm happy to do that for you. You can find it, your top 5 online for like $9.99. All 32 for $30. But anyway, I suspect everybody in here probably has input. At least I talked to them.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I got a Fiesta story.
Yes.
We were selling a older Fiesta cobalt blue coffee cup with the saucer.
Yeah.
And a lady came by and chastised us because we were selling for $1. She got to take it off the table. It's worth a lot more than $1. I said, lady, you're missing the obvious. I said, it's left-handed handle.
I found I found at Cedarburg one time, in the morning, right when they were opening, I found a guy who had a bowl, which was worth about $100 and some with a bunch of fishing lures. And I said, how much? He goes, oh, there must be 10 fishing lures in there, how about $20? And I said, the bowl and the bowl? And he said, you can have the bowl, I don't want the bowl. And I said, okay. So I got the thing and that was it. And found a friend of mine who had a booth there and I said, here you go, you have a bunch of fishing lures, thank you very much. All right, thank you.